are listening to the Thornapple Valley Church podcast. Thank you for joining us. Our hope is for you to be encouraged and to connect with God during this message. If you'd like to know more about Thornapple Valley Church, visit tvcweb.com.
Well, Merry Christmas, everybody. Let's try it again to sound a little weak. You are the 11 o'clock service. You get to come late, have coffee first. Merry Christmas, everybody. All right, that's better. In fact, let's just make it a little more interesting. I want you to turn to the people next to you, behind you, in front of you, however you want to do it, and say Merry Christmas. Hang on, based on how you're feeling. So it may be Merry Christmas, or it may be Merry Stinking Christmas, or whatever it is. Just go ahead, do that right now, based on how you're feeling. Just turn and tell them Merry Christmas. I didn't say have a conversation. I said say Merry Christmas, all right? You know, I was thinking about this a little while back about a time, this is quite a few years ago now, when my son Mike was with me. He was 4 years old at the time. He has a 3-year-old now, so it tells you how long ago it was. But I decided that I was going to take him with me and go to the hardware store. And, just Daddy and his boy. And so we go to the hardware store. And I had to buy some things for repairs or whatever. And so I'm back in a kind of the corner of it, and I'm looking at different things. I'm going, do I want this one? Do I want this? Is that going to work? How's that going to work? And I guess I was really focused on that because I wasn't paying attention. And I turned to look for Mike, and he was gone. Anybody ever had that happen to you? I mean, that is a very scary moment in your life. You're just like, oh my gosh, because you've heard all the stories. So I basically just took off down the aisle, center aisle. I'm looking both ways. I only had to go like 2 aisles. I looked, and he's all the way down at the end. And at first he didn't see me, and I was just looking at him like this. And then he turned and he caught my face, and he saw me. And he had a look of sheer terror in his eyes, sheer terror. He was scared to death. And to his credit, he never cried, never did anything. He didn't even run at me, but as fast as those little 4 legs would carry him, he came all the way down, and he got to my leg, and he just clamped onto it with his arms around me like that, and his body was trembling. And so I remember this well, because I knelt down in front of him like, Mike, you need to know, buddy, I will never leave you in a store like this. I will never leave you alone. I'm with you, buddy. And I didn't, that I remember, add, and if you ever stink and walk away from me again, I will kill you. I don't know if I added that or not, but I'm sure I thought it. But I remember when I was kneeling down in front of him, I thought, even at 4, intuitively, like an instinct, he knows that going out on your own sounds fun, but in the end, in real life, alone it just doesn't work. I think I became critically aware of that when I was 8 years old. My family, the family I was raised with, we went to church pretty much every weekend. We were in the Baptist church in Howell, Michigan. I called it the Arnett pew because we always sat, and some of you are the same way. How many of you are sitting in the same chair you sat in last week? I'm pretty sure that's a bunch of you. You're so stuck in the mud. Try to shake it up a little bit, all right? All right, that was parenthetic, but back to the story. So we're sitting in the Arnett pew, and it was like it hit me because I sure wasn't listening to the preacher. Who listens to preachers? I have no idea, but most people don't. But I wasn't listening to the preacher, but it hit me suddenly. I can't do this on my own. Now, just for some understanding, already at 8, because my mom had been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, 3 months after I was born, we'd watched my mom almost die a couple different times and knew how bad it was and knew that it was a difficult thing. But at 8, I'm aware of some of these things in life and my own inadequacies, how I would try to be a good kid, but I kept screwing up and making mistakes. And it was like I actually was so aware of it that I started to cry softly. And then it was as if God was standing next to me, not in an audible way or anything, but I heard him say so clearly, I'm the answer, son. You come to me. And that day, 8 years old, over in Howell, Michigan, just sobbing, I stepped out and made the decision to give my life to Christ. And it was an amazing experience for me because I experienced his richness and his love. I'm sure I embarrassed the entire Arnett pew. They were all like, stop making a scene here. I was just sobbing and crying, but it didn't matter because what I'd realized in that moment was I can't do this alone. And I've had repeated experiences like that because we're all a little like Mike was. We want to venture out on our own. I can do this. I got this, until we realize I don't got this. And I've had that happen in my life lots of times, and I go running back to the Father's arms and hang on to Him trembling, knowing life doesn't work alone. There's something in us that knows it intuitively. We were made to be connected with certainly other people, but I would contend even more so with the one who created us. We were made to be in connection with Him. You know, every one of us has a hole on the inside of us, and we keep trying to fill it with stuff. We think, if I just get that next toy, if I just get that next thing, if I can get the house, if I can get the job, if I can get the girl or the guy or whatever it is, but someone has aptly said that hole in us is a God-shaped hole, and the only thing that ever really fills it is a connection with the one who created you and knows you best. That's what we need. And so now here we are. Yay! Thanks for the lone hand clap. I want to know, I appreciate that. Now we're at Christmas, which in America, of course, has largely become, as it has in many nations, more of a secularized cultural holiday with trees and decorations and gifts and Santa Claus and all that stuff. And I think it's all great. I'm not against it. I think it's wonderful. But Christians, of course, take it another step. They don't just celebrate the fun, they celebrate the birth of Jesus and more. Christians celebrate what it means that Jesus came, that it means God is now with, can anybody tell me? Us. He's with us. And that, folks, that changes everything. We celebrate what Christmas means, not just that Jesus was born, but that now means God with us. Matthew, the writer of the first book in the New Testament, quoting from Isaiah the prophet, said this. He wrote this. He said, "The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel," which means, please say it out loud with me, God with us. God with us. Not just in the form of Jesus, who came and was there 33 years and taken away, but God is still with us now. Wherever we are, whenever we're there, God is with us. And that changes everything. When you're aware of that, when you're walking with Him, it changes how you see the circumstances you're in, how you deal with your life. And I know that some of you are in dark places, you're difficult, and you may not always be aware of it, but He is with you where you are right now. Amen? God is with us. Now, last week, he talked about how God's with us when we're on the mountaintops and we're visionary and we're rocking it and we're making a difference and everything's going well. This week, I'm going to take the other end. I want to talk about the fact that God is with us in the valleys. And if 66 years of age have taught me anything, it's that valleys happen in life with great regularity. Would anybody agree with that? And by valleys, I mean those dark places, those frightening places, those difficult times. Life is full of valleys. And it's crazy. I don't know, maybe you won't resonate with this, but for me, sometimes I can have mountaintops and valleys multiple times in the same day. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Come on, anybody? It's good to know there are other psychotic people like myself in the room. Multiple mountaintops and valleys in the same day. It's like you're up and down over and over and over again. Some years ago now, quite a number of years, the three Arnett boys were hanging out together. So that would be myself, my older brother Rick, who passed away some years back, and my younger brother Dave. And we were in Colorado, where Dave lives. Dave is a mountain climber, and David made the suggestion that we consider climbing Pikes Peak, which is a large mountain in the Colorado Springs area. Some of you are familiar with it. And he said, "You guys want to try that?" Well, we knew he was a mountain climber, so at first we're a little like, I don't know, you know. He said, "Look, there's nothing technical. You're not hanging from ropes and using pitons and all that stuff." He said, "It's just basically almost completely just a trail. You just hike up." He said, it is over 12 miles and over 7,500 feet of elevation, but he said, it's something you can do. And we looked at each other and we're like, that will be fun. And we were wrong on that one. I will never forget that trip because we started out, and I cannot tell you how many times I'd look up and go, the peak is just ahead of us, and we'd get up to it, and I'd realize, now that was just a ridge, and then it would go back down into a valley and up on another ridge and over and over. I didn't say it to my brother, but what I wanted to say is, I thought you were leading us to the top of Pikes Peak, but I think you've led us to hell at elevation. That's all you've done. Life often feels that way. It's like you do have some elevation. Your life, most of us, we experience pretty good lives. I mean, we're well-to-do. We've got a lot of stuff for us, relatively speaking, to the rest of the world. We got so much. And so we live at elevation. But life is filled in the midst of all that elevation with valleys. They come along, and they're dark, and they're frightening. And I always, I think about this too. Sometimes people ask you, like you haven't seen them for a long time, and then they see them, they go, how you doing? What do they want you to say? Great. They don't want you to say anything more than that. Can you imagine if you do? You're like, well, this morning I woke up, I felt so good. I was on a mountaintop, but then when I went downstairs, my wife was slamming cupboard doors shut, and I said, honey, is something wrong? And she said, no. And every man in the room right now has a sinking feeling in his stomach because he knows what that means. And it was terrible. And then we got in a big fight. And then after 2 hours, we finally worked it out and kissed and made up. And then let me tell you what happened. By that time, they walked away because they really don't want to hear it. But that's life. Up and down. Valleys are a part of life. And the bottom line is whether I want them or not, they happen. And you all know exactly what I'm talking about. Difficult places, places of pain. And if I were to be brutally honest about how I feel about valleys, I hate them because they're painful. There's anxiety about what the future may hold. There's all these feelings of woundedness and frustration and angst and all that. And besides all that, you got to climb back up out of that stinking valley again. Valleys, this is just me, but valleys suck. I know some of you are like, can he say that in church? Just did. But I'm not in charge anymore, so I don't really care. So, if you want to write the church, send the email to Keith@TVCWeb. They happen. They happen. But they suck. They happen. They're terrible, and I hate them. And this is going to sound fully crazy when I say it based on all that I just said. What I really should say is I mostly hate them when I'm in them. Because what I've learned is that when I look back at the valleys that I've been through, I know it's going to sound crazy, but I'm actually kind of glad I went through them. I don't want to experience the pain again. I don't want to go through the struggle or the frustration or the concern about what the future may hold. But when I look back at them, what I see more than those things is I see the growth in my life. I see the change. I see that through that thing, God used that in such a way that I'm a better person because of the valley I went through. See, the truth is that I'm now able to help others in that, and I'm able to become a better person, be a better... What's true is that nobody wants to hear valleys are actually necessary for growth. But they are. I think, not when I'm in it, mind you, but when I look back, I think valleys are good for us. And I know some of you are in a valley right now. You're in a difficult season. It was all you could do to get to church. You're like, you giving me a bad time for being late? I will tell you what's going on. I know you're mad. And for me to say this, you just want to get up and hit me. Again, there's another guy that's going to preach next week. Go hit him, all right? I understand how frustrating this is, but it doesn't make it not true. Valleys are good for us. Still, they're so hard. Actually, for many of us, I think this is what Christmas time looks like for us. Valleys at elevation. I mean, Christmas is kind of wonderful. You got to admit, there's a lot of good cooking going on, a lot of fun stuff. But then there's the other stuff that we don't like so well, like having to decorate the Christmas tree. That's hell at elevation. Like all the things, it's like stretched finances or the struggle of what's happening around that season. You have to see certain family members that you don't want to see. And some of you, if there's nobody in your family like that, you're probably the one that nobody wants to see. I'm not sure. There are valleys at Christmas time, at elevation. And I think we need to be reminded in this season, and frankly, all seasons, that valleys can be good for you. But I think we need to remember why valleys are good for us. It's not just because we went through them. It's because God is with us, and that changes everything. Amen? In fact, this is what I'd like you to do. I would like you to say it out loud with me. Say this out loud. God is with us. Can you say it with a little energy? My gosh. Slap the person next to you and then say it with me, all right? Don't do that. I was joking. God is with us. He is with us. He is with us wherever we are. In the difficult times, in the hard times, in the valleys. And it may feel like you're alone, but you are never alone on the mountaintop or in the valley. Now, I understand when you're in the valley, it feels sometimes like God disappears, but He hasn't. And today what we're going to do is I just want to talk about really how we navigate dark valleys. And I'm going to give you some simple thoughts on this, but we're going to do it by looking at a psalm, Psalm 84. So if you have a Bible, I'd love to have you open there. You don't have to. Certainly we have Bibles in the chairs. You can take your phone and open the Bible app. But maybe it'd be good for you to see this in front of you. I'll also put it on the screen. And I'm just going to say this up front. I know some of you, you're not, you don't go to church regularly and you never read the Bible. And so I know this may feel like it's a little confusing when we read it. Hang on. I'm going to walk you through it because this has got something very powerful for us. And I'm going to pick up and read the first verse down through verse 7. So he says, "How lovely is your dwelling place, Lord Almighty. My soul yearns, even faints for the courts of the Lord. My heart and my flesh cry out for the living God. Even the sparrow has found a home, and the swallow a nest for herself, where she may have her young, a place near your altar, Lord Almighty, my King and my God. Blessed are those whose strength is in you, whose hearts are set on pilgrimage." Take note of that word, pilgrimage. "As they pass through the valley of Baca, they make it a place of springs. The autumn rains also cover it with pools. And they go from strength to strength till each appears before God in Zion." And I know some of you are like, I didn't understand anything you just said. Let's just break this down. This is not complicated. First, he's describing the human condition. He's saying, my soul yearns, even faints. But what he's explaining is why it does. Every one of us have a hole inside, and we're trying to stuff it and fill it and make it better. But it's a God-shaped hole, and the only thing that really works is God. He says, my soul yearns, it even faints for the courts of the Lord, for a connection with God. That is because there is where we find fulfillment. There's where we find blessing and strength. God is what we need. He says, blessed are those who dwell in your house. Again, people who are connected with God and stay that way. And then based on that, this is what he tells us. He says, a pilgrimage to God, the God connection, a pilgrimage in the direction of God. And what you say, what is a pilgrimage? It's real simple. It's a journey. I am going towards God. I am going through this thing towards God, wherever that is. And this is what he says in verse 5. Blessed are those whose hearts are set on pilgrimage. But then, and this is what most of us won't understand unless you know a little bit more about it, he gets real about what life really is like in the real world. Because he makes this statement. He says, as they pass through the valley of Baca. Sounds confusing, doesn't it? Like, what? Why is that relevant? I don't know where it is. Neither do I. That's not really the point. See, the valley of Baca is often called the Valley of Tears. Here's what one author says. The Valley of Baca was most likely related, the people at the time understood, it's hard for us if we don't understand this, it's most likely related to a tree that would ooze out sap. So if you walk by the people would say there's a weeper. It looked like the tree's crying. And that's why the Valley of Baca is translated in different ways in Scripture. It's called the Valley of Tears, the Valley of Weeping, the Valley of Laws. In other words, it's a dark valley. One commentator actually says it may not even be a geographical place, the Valley of Baca. What it may be is a metaphor or just another term for going through a dark or tearful or painful valley. Whatever it was, everybody knows what it is. In real life, you pass through the Valley of Baca on a semi-regular basis. Sometimes they're worse than others, but you hit the Valley of Tears. But this is what I want you to get, because what the author is not saying here is, well, you get into these terrible valleys and it just sucks. He's not saying this is just a place of suffering. He's saying this is a place of decisions. This is really important. You hit the valley of tears. The question you should be asking is not how long do I have to endure this painful time, but what do I do in this dark season of my life? Look at what he says. He says, as they pass through the valley of Baca, they make it a place of springs. In other words, what they do by their own decisions is they turn it into a place of growth. Instead of just wallowing in despair, instead of just feeling pain, they turn it into a place of growth. And for some of us, this is what you came to hear, and you need to hear this because you've been in a valley. You've been in a dark place. Maybe it's only been for 2 days, or maybe it's been for a week, or some of you maybe months, and you say, it's terrible. I hate this. I hate what I'm going through. I hate this dark place in my life. And you came here to hear this, and I want to say this as gently and lovingly as I know how. I hate that you're facing this valley. I know it's pain. I know it's darkness. I know it's difficult. I know every day it's hard to get up. I know that pain. But you hear me now. Stop wallowing in self-pity. And I don't say that meanly, and I'm not just saying suck it up. I'm saying make a decision to stop wallowing in self-pity about the circumstances, because the truth is you may feel like you're all alone, but you are not, because God is, say it with me, with us. You are not alone. God is with us. And I can preach this with a certain authority. I can stand up here and rant and rave on this because, well, this is interesting. You read what he says. He said, those who pass through the valley of Baca, you're not just staying there, you're going through. And I preach it with authority because I've been listening to it from my wife for the last 6 weeks through a valley in my life. And she would lovingly and yet pretty passionately at times say to me, you're not staying, you're going through. You're not staying here, you're going through. And I would look at her and say, shut up. I look stupid, but I'm not, all right? I would never have said that to her, but I did hear what she had to say. And she said it to me repeatedly, and I need to hear it. And some of you need to hear that. You are passing through the valley of Baca. You are not staying there. That is not where you will stay. So change your perspective, because God is, say it with me, with us. I hate to be cliche by quoting Winston Churchill, but I love the statement he made at one point. If you're going through hell, say it out loud. Keep going. Keep going. You are going through. Stop wallowing and make a decision. Turn the valley of tears into a place of springs. And I know sometimes, you say, okay, I got back up and I'm really trying, and then bam, your head hits against the wall and you drop down and you're just like, I tried it. Everything just keeps going wrong. And I'm no condemnation coming from me, because I've just been living with some of that in my own life, so I understand it. What I'm saying is, get back up and keep walking with God and in the direction of God. Keep doing that. The psalmist famously wrote in the 23rd Psalm, many of you are familiar with that, he said, even though I walk through the darkest valley, King James says the valley of the shadow of death, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will not fear evil. Why? He says to God, because you are with me, because I'm not alone. This place is so hard and so painful and so dark, it feels like the valley of the shadow of death. I feel like I'm so close to death, it's horrible. But I am never alone. And you are not alone. You are not alone. God is with us. So in the time I have left, and I'm not going to take a long time on this, but I want to just talk a little bit about what I call valley decisions. How do we navigate the valleys that are happening in our lives? How do we get through them? And some of you may think basically it's just like, well, you already said, stop feeling sorry for yourself and get up and work it out. And I would say if you can do that, that's great. But how many times have you gotten yourself back up and then you hit a wall and you drop back down, and you got back up and you hit a wall and you drop back down, and it's like you can't fix it? And that is true. Sometimes you can't fix it. So it's not just a matter of you getting back up and fixing it. It is a matter of you saying, I'm going to go on a pilgrimage. In other words, I'm going to go in the direction of God. I'm going to go in His direction. And really, this is what the whole thing is saying in Psalm 84. The whole series that we've got is this God with us. This is about what this is. It's not, hey, life sucks, get over it, get back to work, you're going to be okay. No, it's not that. It is God is with us, and when we have that awareness, it changes everything. It changes my trajectory. I'm in a dark valley, it's painful, and I don't like this, but I'm going to keep going in God's direction because He is with me. And that changes how I do life. It changes the single most important truth in life. We don't deserve this, but it's nonetheless true. God is with us. You are not alone. God is with us. And I know some of you are saying, well, yeah, I heard you say that 6 times. All right, I'm going to have you say it now another time, but I want you to say it to the person next to you. But before you say it, don't say it yet. I want you to say it in your best preacher voice. All right, turn to him. However that looks like, just say it in your best preacher voice. Say, God is with us. Come on, say it to him right now. All right, some of you are never going to be preachers, and that's all right. We must never forget that God is with us. If you want to turn your valley into a place of springs, you don't just be a fixer. The trouble with being a fixer is every time you get it fixed, you need another fix after that and another. No, what you need is to go in the direction of God. This Christmas season, you have a choice. And I really believe this, and this is why I had you turn and say to the person next to you, I'm hoping many of you are here with family or somebody you know, because I'm hoping over the next 2 weeks that you will look at each other when somebody's whining about how difficult it is or how painful it is, and you'll just say, but God is with us. Don't say it meanly. Don't say it sarcastically. God is with us. God is with us. That changes everything. Changes everything. God is with us. And so, if you're on a pilgrimage towards God in the valley, here's 2 simple thoughts, and I'll keep this really simple. First one is, just look for God. Look for God. Be looking for Him. This is what I can tell you, is that if you look for God, you actually will find Him. The psalmist writes in the 23rd Psalm, God will lead you to green pastures, quiet waters, He'll restore your soul. It's not you. You're smart, you're good, you're a hard worker. Yay, that's all awesome. But some stuff you're not big enough, so you keep looking for God in the midst of this painful season, in the valley in your life. Look for God, because if you look, you will see Him. Speaking through the prophet Jeremiah, this is what God says. He says, if you look for me wholeheartedly, you will what? You'll find me. You'll find me. For some of you, this is what you needed to hear. I already talked to some, but this is what you need to hear. You've been looking for the wrong thing. Now just hang with me. You've been looking for your wife to stop being so cranky. You've been looking for your boss to be a nicer person. You've been looking for the economy to change in the direction you think it should. You've been looking for the politicians you want to be voted into place. You've been looking for all kinds of things. And none of those are necessarily bad, but they are not what will bring you through the valley and make springs in a place that's desolate. You need to be looking for God. And the thing is that He's there with you. It's not like you have to go say, just turn pilgrimage. Look for God. Look for Him, because He is with you. And that's, again, His promise. If you look for me, you'll see me. And I promise you, you will. You'll see Him in your family. And I know some of you, if you don't know my family, God's never visited my family. He has, because God is what? With us. You look for Him, you will see Him. Listen, you do that over this Christmas season, I think you can see springs where there was only darkness when you look back. I believe this. I'm not saying it's easy. Look for God in the dark places, because here's the deal. Valleys, they pull your head down. You're just looking at your feet and the little thing in front of you, and it's just like, But looking for God changes your view. Head up, baby. Look for God. Look for Him everywhere. So first thought is just look for God. Second thought is, and this is just for some of you, not for everybody, but just slow down and delight. Can I just say this to some of you? This is just, maybe it's only even a handful of people, but if you're one of them, you're trying to pack so much into your life. You are running from thing to thing to thing to thing. And anybody will tell you, the faster you go, the less you see. Come on, is that true? And we're trying to squash all this in and make it all happen in our lives. And some of us just need to hear this. And you will feel God actually speaking into your heart right now. He's saying, slow it down, back off from some of this stuff, and live fully into the moment that you have in this life. Don't miss this Christmas. Let it be one that's filled with springs, with beauty, because you slowed down enough to see where God was at work in your life. This is what, again, the psalmist wrote in Psalm 23. He said, surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life. What does that mean? It just means that when you're walking with God, when He's with you, goodness and love is always with Him. So it's there, right there. You have goodness and love in your life right now. That didn't go over well, but it's true. You have goodness and your love in your life right now because God is what? He's with us. And you may want to argue this, you may not like me saying this, but God is with us. Slow down, taste your life. Look for God, slow down and delight. Well, let's just do it one more time, all right, with a little energy. Would you say it out loud with me? God is with us. Let's say it real loud. God is with us.
Thank you for listening to the Thornapple Valley Church podcast. If you found this message encouraging, we invite you to share it. For more information, visit tvcweb.com.